Thank you, Selvin. Thank you to Charmaine and Nonhlanhla and everybody who's been working in the background. For those of you who've been in a room with me somewhere along the line, you will know that I really love seeing your face. So for those people who have put their videos on, and I know it's not possible for everybody, but thank you very much. Thanks Dawn and Mary and George and Tembekile and Utalia. If your name is displayed as Melissa Oosthuizen and you're not actually Melissa Oosthuizen, then I'm going to invite you to develop a new skill. So this is an opportunity for you to practice your skills on Zoom, and you're literally going to go on to put your cursor on your screen, and then there's three little buttons at the top of your screen, and there's going to be a drop-down menu, and you click on that, and then you rename yourself. And you put in your name. If you're on your phone, then you might want to do it the other way. Then you might want to just look at the participant list and you can change your name. So that's just so that we're all in conversation. Now, for those, also we've got many people from Partners for Possibility on the call, but we've also got many people who are not part of Partners for Possibility. So we want to make this as interactive as possible. And I'm going to ask for you to put in the chat, what was it about this invitation that got you interested to join today? So this is just an opportunity for us to co-create the experience. You know that I care about co-creation. So if you could put in the chat, why did you join the conversation today? What was it about this topic or this community? Why are you here today? What do you want? What is it? What did you come for? So I'm going to keep an eye on the chat for people to put their thoughts in, and then I'm going to start the conversation around school at the center of community. Now, many years ago, I was confronted with the difference between schools that produce great outcomes and schools that have not so good outcomes. And we were looking at the difference between these schools, and we found something which was quite heartbreaking, is that there's a very clear, thank you very much, Sinead, that is so helpful, trying to involve parents back into the school community, trying to reintegrate since COVID. So we're going to ask you to have your voices heard. But so it's very clear that when communities are involved in the school, and they support the school, those schools do better. So schools that do well have community support. Schools who struggle don't have as much community support. And I'm seeing lots of people put their notes in here around school need all the support they need. We need how to get community ownership. Chris is asking, who is the community? Sinead says we want to try and get the parents involved. And Mary says the community and the school and community must work together. Melissa, who's probably not Melissa, some other name, so I'm here to sharpen my leadership skills involving parents. Okay, so this has been a big question, this question around how do we get parents and other members of the community to play a role? How do we get them to contribute and make a difference at the school? Now, in the early days, when I was trying to get my head around this, someone gave me a statistic, which I'm going to share with you now. And this statistic has been really shaping my thinking and has shaped our thinking around Partners for Possibility. So here it is. And I've often used this at SAPA conferences. So some of the SAPA principals may have heard this before, that our children are awake in a year 5,800 hours, more or less. So if we work on the assumption that they should sleep for 8 hours every day and they're awake for 16 hours a day, then that means that they're awake 5,800 hours. And of that time, they spend at most 1,200 hours at school. That's 20% of their awake hours. That means that they spend 80% of their time outside of school in the community. And what we've been doing as a society is we've been expecting schools to educate our children, and we've not been looking at the role of the community. Would you agree? Does anybody agree with me on that? And what I'd love to do, I'm going to keep an eye on the participant list, and literally if you want to say something about anything I'm saying, and thank you very much, we see one little one kind of thumbs up. If anybody wants to say anything in response to what I'm saying, I'm going to invite you to literally just unmute yourself and then you can speak, because we'd love to hear your thoughts. But the point is that principals and all of us who care about education have been putting all the pressure on education, and we've not been inviting the community to play their role sufficiently. So that's a provocative statement. And I know that that might sound harsh to many people. So I have to just also say that for the last 12 years, I've been committing my life to supporting school principals and to mobilize active citizenship around schools. So I'm not saying this from a place of judgment. I'm saying it with deep compassion, that school principals, to lead a school and to be an educator in an under-resourced school, is one of the most challenging jobs we have in this country. And so we have to find out, how do we get educators and principals and school communities to be more supported? So I'm going to tell you a story that happened with Ridwan Samuddin and myself at Kaname Primary. So at Kaname Primary, when we started Partners for Possibility, the parents were not engaged in that school. They didn't bring their gifts and contributions to the school. It was all on Ridwan and the educators' shoulders. And then we decided that we were going to find a way to get the parents involved. So here's a tip for anybody who wants to say, I want to get my parents involved. We developed a vision for the school. And the vision was that we wanted the school to become the school of choice in Grassy Park. And we knew that for that vision to be a reality, we needed parents involved. But we didn't know how to get the parents there. So we asked the grade 4s, how would we get the parents to come to the school? How do we get the parents involved? And they weren't sure until I challenged them. I said, you know what, Mr. Samuddin has had experience that when he sends a letter to the parents and he invites them to come to the school, a very small percentage of parents come. What do you think, grade 4s, we could do differently? And the grade 4s gave us a beautiful answer. They said, Mr. Samuddin shouldn't write the letter. We, the children, should write the letter. We should invite our parents. So let me stop there. Well, actually, I'll tell you what happened, and then you can tell me whether that sounds interesting for you. But so we kind of took them on their word. We said, okay, so let's see whether that has an impact. If we get the children to write the letter to the parents rather than Mr. Samuddin, let's see what happens. And we had something like more than 60% more parents came, or more adults came, when the children did the invitation rather than Mr. Samuddin. So I want to hear from anybody, whether anybody has had that same experience, do we have anybody else who's had experience where when we get the children to be part of the change agents at the school, then amazing things happen, and different things happen than when we have the principal trying to kind of drag the parents to the school. Have any of you seen that? So I think this is a good time for us to go into a small group conversation. And the reason I want you to go into a small group conversation is we want to hear your voices. And by not hearing your voices means that we're missing out on your contribution. And that's typically what happens at our schools. We're missing out on the contribution of these amazing active citizens. So I'm going to ask you to go into a small group. And Charmaine, do you want to do the breakouts, or do you want me to do it? I'm very happy to.
You can do it, Louise.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to put you into breakout rooms with about 4 people in a breakout room. And I'm going to assign you automatically to the breakout room. So you're going to have it's going to be like a lucky packet who you end up in the breakout room with. And in the breakout room, I'd like you to just share with the other people, firstly, who you are, where you come from, and tell them what your specific challenge is with regard to parental engagement and community engagement at your school. So I want you to be quite specific. What is it that you are grappling with? And what we're going to do is we're going to give everybody, we're going to give you about 7 minutes in the breakout room, so that when you come back, then maybe we have something more that we can talk, something that we can kind of chew on. So invite you to go to the breakout room, share with the other people, introduce yourself. This is also an opportunity for you to help each other change the names. If we've got lots of Melissa Oosthuizens, maybe you can help each other to change the name. And just introduce yourself to the other people and tell them what your unique challenge is with regard to community engagement at your school. So that will give us something to kind of work on. So I'm opening the rooms. You're going to have 7 minutes to have that conversation and enjoy just meeting these amazing people on the call. How are you doing? How are you doing?
Running.
Running. Is it good running or is it overwhelming running?
It's good running. It's good running. I'm starting to establish, trying to establish the idea of community and community building and stakeholders. And I've been at Richfield campus today, started setting up partnerships, pulling in governing body to help, because it is difficult. It is very difficult, but I'm starting somewhere. I realize the importance of it. It is important because I think we just too fragmented. And after COVID, really, we need more than we ever did before.
Yeah, I think that everybody would agree that COVID has really brought home the need for community engagement and parents to be actively involved in the school. And so I want to encourage, we're going to hear, so we've got, most people have come back. We just want to hear a few voices so that we don't have one person, because this is one of the challenges that we have, is that so often we as leaders show up and when we talk at people rather than with people. And so we want to make sure that we create this experience as an experience of us talking to each other, with each other. So I'm gonna keep an eye open for anybody who's willing to switch their video on, sorry, yeah, well, not just your video on, but to unmute yourself. I'm going to mute everybody so that if you are unmuted, then we know you want to say something. So anybody who wants to say something about what was discussed in your small group, and you can literally just unmute yourself. Maureen, we'd love to hear from you.
Yes, I think I had a colleague from Limpopo and another colleague, very wonderful, 2 people. They shared their experiences about lack of involvement by parents, and that parents are showing no interest, especially these young parents. Children stay most of the time with the grannies who are not able to assist the children with the schoolwork, homework, and so on. And one of them was saying, parents show poor relations with their own children, you know, especially high school children. Parents have no interest in their own children. And one was saying, we are just wondering in terms of the generation of future people in the children that are growing in our schools, because they lack the parental guidance and parental support.
Thank you, Maureen. Yeah. And I think what is then true is, what is the job of school? So we'll talk a little bit about that. Let's just hear, there was someone else who was also unmuted. We want to just hear a few voices. I want to see who that person was. There was someone else who was unmuted as well, and we want to make sure that we give you. So Elaine Thompson.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, colleague.
Yes, who am I speaking to? So
you're speaking to Tony from the Northern Cape.
Okay, so Tony, I'm going to rename you so that we know who you are. I'm going to just put in here Tony from the Northern Cape. We want to hear what you have to contribute, Tony.
No, I'm just adding on the latter speaker because we were in the same group. I'm also saying I'm worried about the values that our parents are instilling in their children, because children without values, it clearly shows their reaction, their behavior when they are in a school setup. So I'm really worried about the values, if there are values at all, that parents are really imparting in their children. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tony. So I don't, well, not so much fantastic in what you said, but just in terms of thank you for your contribution, Tony, because it's helping us to kind of say, where do we need to take this conversation? So then we've got two other people whose names, or we've got Elaine Thompson, and then we've got two people whose names are showing up as Melissa. So let's just hear from Elaine first, and then we'll see whether we can get the name sorted out from the rest. Tony.
Hi, everybody. Elaine from Galway Primary School. I just wanted to share what I shared with our group is, I mean, I think we're not unique. We have very similar problems with parents not being involved. But in this, we've been running a project, and in our third year now, have found that the reason, or one of the big reasons parents don't get involved is because they just actually don't know how with a lot of things. So we started running little workshops that are currently not wonderfully attended, but every workshop we do kind of grows a little bit and a little bit as the word's getting out. But we're doing things that help the parent grow. Things like, we want parents to pay school fees, but they don't know how to run a budget, so let's do finance skills. We want parents to help with homework, but they don't actually know how to do homework. We've recently run a discipline workshop. So it's little things like that. And we've slowly seen more and more parents wanting to come and be involved. And I think it's because they feel less lost than what they were previously.
Okay, fantastic, Elaine. So this is where I go, I don't need to say anything. I just need to get the people on the school to speak, because we have the answers between us. So I'm going to say a little bit about what Elaine was saying and what we've seen now. So Partners Possibility has now been involved in more than 1,600 schools. So I'm going to share some of what we've seen in those schools. Just want to hear whether there's anybody else who want to just share with us their thoughts or their comments just on this topic. So Moifo Marwali Jacob, we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm principal of Baden-Belle Primary School, which is in Atteridgeville, Pretoria. I was sharing with my colleagues in our small group that, look, with me, my problem is somehow contextual, in a sense that the parents or the learners, they outside Atteridgeville, they are bussed in, almost 90% they are bussed in, like six buses. So the logic says, if learners are bussed in, parents must be bussed in during the parents' meetings, which it has got some financial implications. But something very interesting, parents seem to attend meetings when their children are doing grade 1s and 2. Once they are in grade 3 upwards, they sort of relaxing or being less interested in coming to the meetings. But in first grade, second grade, it seems like they are somehow eager. I don't know how to really encourage them in that regard. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. So let me say a few things in response to what people are saying. And I want to also invite you, if you want to make a comment in the chat, and Maureen's just made a really important point there. So let me start with Maureen's point. One of the things that we've seen now in these 1,600 schools is that many parents don't feel welcome. And they don't feel welcome because they feel that we are treating them like children. And we've discovered that no parent will not actually, we've actually found out that not even the children want to be treated like children. So that's the first thing, is how do we make sure that parents know that they are valued, that we respect them, that we acknowledge them as a gift and a contribution to the school? How do we do that? Well, coming back to the point that, who was this beautiful lady who just made a point around many parents don't know how. So parents are afraid if they haven't had a good experience with being connected into the school, then they're afraid that we are not going to see them as clever enough, or they're worried that they're not going to know how to support the children, so they rather stay away. So there are many fears and concerns that parents come to school with. Have you seen that? Have you seen that many parents are afraid to come to school? They're worried they're not going to look clever enough, or they're not going to have the answers, or they're going to be treated like children. Sarah, I see Sarah Dayan has unmuted herself. Sarah, we'd love to hear your thoughts, or you've just muted again. Utalia.
Okay, Sarah, it's here.
No, Sarah's here, and then we'll go to Utalia. Yes, Sarah.
Okay, I've seen, I'm Sarah Matahari by the name, and I've seen in different times when we call parents, there is one of the reasons that make them to be afraid to come to school. I've observed it's one, the way we're treating them, as you're saying, when they come to school, the way we're speaking to them, the way we're addressing them is one of the biggest things that parents don't want to come to school, because we have realized that some of these parents have never been to school, and situation. Some of these parents are grandparents that are not even sure of what is it that they are supposed to do. So the way we're addressing them, I think it's a problem that makes them not to want to come to different schools when we call parents meeting. But in my case, I've realized that I've grown a very good relationship with them in terms of attending parents meeting rather than being called by teachers to come when there's a problem in the classroom. Thank you.
So Sarah, what you're saying, that you are investing in the relationship before the problem comes.
Yes, that's what we normally do. Yes.
Exactly. And what made you change that, Sarah? How did you, what was it that contributed to that change for you?
I think I've been observing, we talk as with the parents. They called me that I'm not happy when teacher so-and-so is addressing my child, when teacher so-and-so is addressing me on the phone, we don't get along. And then I will always address that when I've got different meetings and I've got different ways of addressing them. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, so we're hearing some wisdom here from Sarah. Sarah says, when parents don't feel that they are being treated with respect, when they only get called in when there's a problem, then we have to think about, you know, that thing that Ben Zander says, when people don't do what I want them to do, then I can always look at what's my contribution. So Sarah's realized one of the things that she needed to do differently is she needed to invest, and she needed to get the teachers to invest in the relationship early with parents, so that when the problem comes, we have a strong relationship. Is that true, Sarah? Is that what you found? I see Sarah's nodding.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so let's
that's
hear
what I normally do.
Let's hear from a few more people. I see Mary Sabers unmuted. Mary, would love to hear from you. And then there's someone else whose name is Melissa, and then we'll go to Italia, and then Lenny. First, Mary.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'd like to fall in with Sarah. I wanted to say that if we keep calling parents in only for problems, then they're going to fear coming in. But if you share with them, even celebrate with them the little achievements of the child, or the little things you want to share with them, and not only call them in when there's big problems, also have celebrations with those parents. So it could be done on a termly basis. It could be done even half yearly, but there must be a celebration where you invite parents just for good things, not to talk about any problems. And that does help.
So that's one of the things that we've seen now in more than 1,600 schools, that when principals start to see parents as a partner, and they say, in order for this partnership to work, I need to invest in the quality of the relationship. And we are sometimes going to come together just to celebrate, just to be in relationship where we don't have an issue. So that when the issues come, we have a strong relationship and we are able to deal with that issue better. Thank you, Mary.
Absolutely. The other thing we need to remember, just a quick thing, is that the parents are the primary educators. We are not the primary educators. They start off educating and they will probably go after us and continue with it. So I think we need to remember that as well.
Okay, so the parents are the primary educators. And and then we go back to that statistic that says, and I see Christine and Nene's name on, we'll come to you in a minute, Christine and Nene. But so the parents are primary educators. Challenge is that many of them don't really know how to do that job. So we have a responsibility to support them and equip them and educate them. And we remember the point that children spend 20% of their awake hours at school and 80% outside of the school. And that's when they're with their parents and then they in the community and with faith-based communities, etc. So we need to make sure that we use that time well. So the question then is, how do we educate the parents with regard to their responsibility? But Mary's point and Sarah's point is, we're never going to get a chance to educate them if they don't want to come to the school. So the very first thing is we need to find a way to attract them and know that when they show up at the school, they're going to be treated with love and compassion, and they're going to be welcomed for who they are. Let's hear from Christine. She has a position on this as well. Christine.
Oh, yes. Hi, and how are you?
Fine, thank you. We're delighted to have you.
Yeah, the first thing is to create, a friendly environment with the parents. And remember that we've got the SGB, which is school governing body that represents the masses of the parents in the school. When we have meetings, we call them to school for the meetings. I delegate the parents in the SGB to run with the process of the meeting, and then the chairperson must run with the agenda, and the parents contribute. And where there's the cracks and loopholes is when the teachers, they come in, because we delegate teachers for each topic in the agenda. So as they must add what the parents have said in the agenda. And once in a term, we do cake and candy sale, and reminding them about the policy that the powers are vested in the South African School Act, that they should do the fundraising for the school. So when they do the cake and candy sale, and you leave them, so as they must run with it, that you do that entrepreneurship day with the learners, and they sell, and in the back of their mind, they're selling because of they are doing the fundraising of the school. Delegate them to be active in those roles. Delegate them to participate more, because of now they feel free even to come back to school and say, I have the suggestion. How about in the term 3, we do XYZ, because of we succeeded in term 1, succeeded in term 2. And as long as you, and you must know your parents as a principal. Who are those in the professionals? Who are those in the media, social media? So as we interact together, because of now people will communicate, even teachers, they communicate with parents via the WhatsApp to say, I gave the learners the homework, can you assist with the homework? Parents, we have received an assessment plan, make it learners to give learners an opportunity, so as they must get ready to write the assessment, especially the formal ones, because of now they need to achieve and perform good in their exams or whatever assessment, other project of the assessment projects. So we interact with them. We not only call them when there is a problem, because of in their mind, when the parent is called in the school, it means there is a problem about my child. Now they fear, and then they'll have some excuses, and I'm not able to come because of I'm busy, I'm at work, I'm doing that. But when you involve them, so as they must be at school, and to take care of the school, the community around here, communicate with them, like on Mondays. When I come back, then I ask the neighboring community, how was the school? Is the school okay? Did you take care of the school? And they feel good about it. And then you thank them, thank you. There's no butler this time, thank you. And I love that because of when you create that relationship with them, they are able to, when they see something happening in school, they even send the photo, take the photo, principal, do you know this car that is parked in front of the gate of the school? There's somebody inside the school. Are you aware about that one? And then when I say no, they approach the person. What do you want from them? What do you want? It's weekend. What do you want at school this time?
So
and
Christine,
to create that rapport, it makes a better relationship. So as parents, they must be able to communicate with us and the teachers.
okay, fantastic. So there's lots of wisdom in what Christine said, but let's just pause with some of those. And then I want to link it back to what some of the other people said. So firstly, Christine is absolutely right. And we've seen this, Nene, where I'm going to come to in a minute. But we've seen this now in 1,600 schools, that when principals treat parents as if they are part of the solution, is what happens. They become part of the solution. And we've heard now from Sarah and Mary and Christine, and they all have a story about that. And then we heard that question around, but the problem is that many of the parents, they come in grade 1 and they grade 2, but they don't come in grade 3 and 4 and 5. So one of the things that principals need to do is to help parents understand how they are part of the solution. So parents can't figure it out for themselves because many of them haven't got that as a background. They didn't have that same experience. So when Sarah and Mary and Christine say to the principal, to the parents, we have a dream for the school. This is our dream, and we cannot achieve this dream without you. Now, the reason why we want to achieve this dream is for your child, and therefore we want you to be an active participant in creating that. And this dream that we have in a primary school is that your child is going to leave grade 7 ready to make a massive success in grade 8. And we can't do that without your involvement every step of the way, every year until grade 7. That's the first thing, is that if we contract that clearly with the parents in grade 1. But then we need to make sure that we support the parents every step of the way, because grade 1 and 2 are reasonably easy for parents to figure out what they need to do for themselves. But I don't know about you guys, but when my children were grade 4, I was a bit lost as a parent. I didn't always know what to do. I needed the school to help me. I needed the school to give me instructions. I needed them to train me. And we don't do enough of that training, which means that the parents don't know how to be actively involved in their schools. And I'd love to hear whether other people agree with this, but this is what we've seen now. When principals start to treat the parents as part of the solution, for those of you part of Partners Possibility, you will know that we use the terminology, we want to give them an A, because we speak differently to someone who we've given an A to than a Z and a G. So we want to give them an A, treat them as if they're part of the solution, and then we want to equip them for their task every step of the way. Every year, we need to revisit that conversation around what do we need from you this year as a grade 1 parent or a grade 2 parent or a grade 3 parent, or how is it different to be a grade 4 parent? And what are the challenges this year? That ongoing conversation is absolutely critical. I want to come back to the idea of parents supporting fundraising and making sure that the schools are beautiful, etc. But let's hear from Nene first.
I'm Nene from Northern Cape. Ma'am, I totally agree with you. Parents, if they feel as part of the school, that's the most important thing. They must not feel as parents because of that. They must feel as part of the stakeholders of the school. It's when they realize that whatever decision that are made at school, they should be part of. And another thing that makes them to be so involved is that when you treat their kids as not learners, but kids also, they appreciate that and they see a school as a second home for their kids. And they will support that school based on the way their kids are also treated. I think it's something that we are overlooking as principals. We focus on they are learners. But if we can take those kids and treat them as much as we want our kids to be treated, parents see that and they will be part of the stakeholders actively so, supporting each and every vision that the school is putting on the table to say, we as educators, we are saying this. They will support that because they know that the people who are benefiting are our own kids and it goes to our homes. But if you isolate them, you don't treat their kids right, they don't support schools based on the attitude that we are showing the parents as educators. And if we can change that, our schools are going to be a better place. Thank you, ma'am.